So, good morning once again, grade 5. So, we have started learning about the chapter 2, that is all about the respiration and reproduction in living things. So, what did we learn? We are just going to recap about what we have learned in our previous class. So, just have a look at your page number 150 and you just try to follow the important terms that are given in this lesson as we are revising the first page. So all living things breathe to stay alive, and living things take in oxygen from the air and they give out the carbon dioxide, and all living things also produce their own kind, and this is called as reproduction. So the two important processes that are happening in the living beings is, one is the respiration and the other one is the reproduction. So first and the foremost, we are going to learn about the respiration in animals and plants. As plants are also living things, we have understood, and animals, and we are part of animals. We are going to learn the first process, that is the respiration in animals and plants. So what do we need to live? What do we need to continue our life, to do all our work? So we need oxygen to make energy from the food we eat. This is the greatest fact that we have to understand from this process of respiration. So what is that fact? We need oxygen to make energy from the food we eat, and you must be wondering how this is going to happen. So this is happening as you are breathing, as you are taking in fresh air which is rich in oxygen, and it is entering into the through the nose. Through the nose it is entering into your through the nose it is entering through the windpipe, it is going to the lungs, and these are two sac-like structures which are very spongy and elastic in their nature, and from the lungs it passes through the blood to different parts of your body, and in different parts of your body, when it reaches the different places where the food is broken down into smaller particles, and with the help of this oxygen the food will break down the food and it will release the energy, and this energy is utilized by you to do all your works in a very healthy and happy manner. So this is all about the respiration that is happening through the nose, and the breakdown of the food is happening, and which is helping you to release the energy. And in the process of respiration, there is one important factor that is also happening. During the burning of the food, the carbon dioxide is also produced. So from where it is going out, again the carbon dioxide that is produced is going back to the lungs, and then it is again breathed out through your nose. So automatically this process is happening. You inhale and you exhale. So you inhale the air, which is a mixture of gases, and in which you will consume only the oxygen that is present in the air, and then you exhale after the process of respiration and after breaking down of food, and then the release of the carbon dioxide, it passes out through the lungs. First it reaches lungs and then it comes back to through your nose, it will be exhaled. So though the process of breathing seems to be very simple, as you just inhale and exhale, but there is a very huge mechanism lying behind this process. So animals such as mammals, reptiles and birds also breathe through the lungs. So a fish breathes through the lungs, and how it is going to breathe? Water enters through the mouth of a fish and passes out through the gills. So the oxygen present in the water as dissolved oxygen is absorbed by the blood through the gills, and the carbon dioxide is released from the blood. The water containing carbon dioxide leaves the body of the fish through the gill cover. So if you observe a fish tank, some of you must be having you would like to keep an aquarium at home, and the most important device to keep your aquarium at home is there is an air pump, so which you always keep it on, so that there is a continuous fresh air supplied into the water, because the amount of oxygen, if it gets finished, then the fish will die, because they can breathe only through the gills, and which is again possible only when the water is having sufficient amount of dissolved oxygen, which can be absorbed by the blood of the fish through the gills. So this is how the fish that are present in the water breathe through their gills. So the carbon dioxide, again, the process of taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide is same in all living organisms. There is no change in that. During the process of respiration, this is for sure that oxygen is consumed by the body and then carbon dioxide is released out. So similarly, when once fish takes the oxygen inside and the carbon dioxide is released from the blood, the water containing carbon dioxide leaves the body of the fish through the gill cover. So there is a gill cover. If you can see the picture, you can see the gill cover, and underneath the gill cover there will be gills visible in the fish. So animals such as prawns, crabs, oysters and tadpoles also breathe through the gills. Now you see the picture of 2.2 to observe a fish that breathes through the gills, and you observe picture 2.3 to observe the breathing of a tadpole and a fish. A baby frog or tadpole lives in water and breathes through gills like a fish, but an adult frog breathes through lungs on land. And we have understood from our previous class that frog can live both on land as well as in the water. So when it is on the land, it will breathe through the lungs, and when it is in the water as a tadpole, how does it breathe? It has gills. Just like fish, it has gills through which it can breathe and survive its life. But the adult frog breathes through the lungs on land. So you look at the picture, you will clearly understand figure 2.2 showing the fish which is having a gill and the gill cover, and in figure 2.3 you can see the small tadpole in the water and the frog living on the land. So let's also learn about the insects. So how do insects breathe? Something very, very interesting. So the insects breathe through air holes on their bodies. So what do they have on their bodies? They have air holes. So they don't have lungs or they don't have gills. Unlike fish, tadpole or any other animal, they don't have all these organs. Their organs of breathing are air holes. And where are they present? What is the size of the insect? The insect is very, very small. So how can it have many other organs? Because the development of the insect is limited, so that it has air holes on their body. So these are called spiracles. There is a name given to these air holes present on the body of the insect, that is called spiracle. So all these terms are very important. You will have to learn and memorize them, what it means. So what does these spiracles lead to? The spiracles are these air holes present on the body, and these spiracles lead to air tubes which form a network that reaches every tissue of the body. So these body tissue take in oxygen and give out carbon dioxide, which is pumped out. Again, the mechanism is same. Taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide is the same in the process of respiration for all living organisms. Remember this point. This is very, very important. Then how do they breathe? They breathe through the air holes present on the body, which are called as the spiracles. The spiracles lead to the air tubes, which form a network that reaches every tissue of the body. These body tissue take in oxygen and give out the carbon dioxide, which is pumped out. So this is about the insects breathing through the spiracles. So an earthworm breathes in oxygen from the water present in the moist soil through its skin. How do you think earthworm is breathing? The earthworm is breathing in oxygen from the water that is present in the moist soil through its skin. So different organisms have different mechanism of breathing, and the organs are also different. So we will make a tabular form as homework. What do we do in that? We write different organisms, name of the organism, name of the organ, respiratory organ, and the mechanism, taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. So we will make a small tabular form, and we can write all these animals and the organs that they use to breathe and the process of respiration. So we have also learned that plants are living organisms. So what did we understand? When they are living organisms, they also breathe in, right? So definitely this is a very important factor that you should understand. So how do plants breathe? So the next part of learning is all about the breathing of plants. So let's look at the same picture given, highlighting the stomata that are present under the leaf, right? Backside the leaf you will not be able to see with your eye, but when you observe them under the microscope, you can easily see the stomata, which are the fine openings that are present behind the leaf, and these can be seen with the help of the microscope. So let us perform an activity to see presence of carbon dioxide in plants. So there is one activity that we need to perform to see the presence of carbon dioxide in plants. So what is that activity? You see the picture 2.5. You will find the seeds, germinating seeds, and how they are germinating. So you will take 2 jars. So just look at the pictures, you will understand what I am explaining to you. That will help you to understand how the procedure has to be done, and you can always try. You must be having some glass jars at home. You can definitely do this experiment at home. Take 2 jars and then let us do this experiment at home, and you will have to show me the results in your next class. You can just show me the jars on the screen. So ask your mother to give you some sprouted seeds so that you can conduct the experiment. So take 2 jars. You mark them A and B. Put some soaked seeds of gram or peas in jar. You know what are gram seeds? In Telugu we call it as Senagalu. So you soak them, see that sprouts come out of those gram, and then you put them into a jar A, and then keep the seeds moist. That means you put little water and always keep them moist. Now boil equal quantity of seeds of the same kind as used in jar. Some of the seeds you boil them, okay, that means you cook them little bit, and then you put them in jar B. So cover both the jars and leave them for 2 or 3 days. So after 2-3 days, an equal quantity of lime water in both the jars. So what do you observe? Lime water is nothing but your lemon water. So we squeeze the lemon and we take the water, mix it in water, and then you will fill the jars with the lemon water after few days. That means only after you observe some small baby plants grown out of this jar A, and from jar B, lime water does not turn milky in jar B. So what do you understand? In jar A, the lime water will turn into milky. So what do you understand? The main important feature behind this experiment is that the carbon dioxide, when it gets mixed with the lime water, it will turn into milky water. So that has happened in jar A. So what do you understand from this? In jar A, the carbon dioxide was present, and in jar B, carbon dioxide was not present. That means, what does it indicate again? The release of carbon dioxide is happening only when the plant is breathing, and the release of carbon dioxide is not happening when the plant is not breathing. Very simple. The logic is very, very simple. So in jar A, the breathing, the respiration was happening by the plant, and in jar B, respiration was not happening. So let's read the paragraph and then you will understand it very carefully. So the lime water turns milky in jar A. In jar B containing boiled seeds, the lime water does not turn milky. So we know lime water turns milky in the presence of carbon dioxide. Therefore, we can say that lime water turned milky in jar A due to the presence of carbon dioxide. The germinating seeds breathe out carbon dioxide and turn lime water milky. So this is what I was explaining to you. Because breathing was happening in the germinating seeds, you are able to see the water turning into milky. When we boil, the germinating seeds are killed. Therefore, they do not breathe in air or give out carbon dioxide. So it is very, very important to understand through this experiment that carbon dioxide is released, oxygen is taken in, and carbon dioxide is given out during the process of respiration. So to understand that carbon dioxide is given out and then how it is happening, we observe through this experiment by conducting germinating seeds in one jar, that is jar A, and the boiled germinating seeds in jar B, and we keep the seeds in the germinating jar A very warm, very wet, so that they grow, they get the water for growing little bit, and you observe it after 2-3 days. What happens? You will squeeze one lemon water and that can be poured into the jar A and jar B, and then you will observe in jar A it changes into milky white because the plant is alive. As it is growing, it is breathing and it is releasing carbon dioxide. So it turns milky white. And in jar B, the seeds are not alive. They were not breathing because only live things can breathe. Something which has life only can breathe. Something which does not have life cannot breathe. So this is something very important that you need to understand. So this is a very important experiment helping you to understand the check and the presence of carbon dioxide released during the respiration in plants. So we are done with the respiration in animals, respiration in insects, and respiration in plants. So this is something very, very interesting and a new topic and very important as well. So these are the topics which are giving you the foundation. So when you go to higher classes, there will be volumes of terms and volumes of experiments and facts you will be learning based on your respiration. So these are the basic terms where you need to focus a lot. You have to learn, you have to read, observe things, and then learn out of your observation. That is what is science. So definitely you all conduct this experiment, draw the pictures, and in your next class you have to show me what you have conducted the experiment and the result of the experiment. So we can always write this as an experiment. So we will also do one page as experiment. I'll show you how to write this as an experiment. You will get it in the homework notification, how to do this as an experiment. So this is something very important. To follow instructions given by your teacher is also very, very important. Don't miss on any of the instruction given by your teacher, because you are attending the online classes, and only if you follow the instructions you will be able to follow the topic nicely. So please take care of your learning and follow the instructions well. So the next topic that we are going to deal in this chapter is about the reproduction in living things. So what is reproduction? Re means again. Production means giving. Okay? Produce something. So to give out something. So how is life continuing on earth? The human beings are giving birth to babies and they are growing into adults. Again, that is how the generation, like your grandfather, then your father, then you. And you will continue to improve the generations when you grow up. So similarly, the dog is giving birth to a puppy, which again grows into a dog, and this dog again will give birth to puppy. This is how the life is continuing. How is the life continuing on earth? The life is continuing on the earth because reproduction is happening in living things. I hope you understand. Can everybody repeat the term? Reproduction in living things. Good. So all living things can produce young ones of their own kind. Human beings give birth to babies. A dog or cat gives birth to young ones. So the process by which the animals or plants produce their own kind is called reproduction. So reproduction in animals is showing you in the picture 2.6. The dog is just lying with its puppies. So all animals do not reproduce in the same way. Something very important that you need to understand again is all animals do not reproduce in the same way. But then how? So most animals give birth to young ones. And some animals lay eggs from which young ones are hatched. So let us learn about common animals and their methods of reproduction. You need to turn to page 153. Page 153. So there are so many points discussed here in page number 153. So first we'll look at the picture. A cat and the kittens. I hope you can see the picture. And then a cow and a calf. You can see the picture. And you see the bird and its young ones. You are seeing the bird after the eggs are hatched. And then the ostrich and its eggs. You can see the ostrich standing near its eggs. So from the eggs again, the young ostrich will come out when they hatch the eggs. So you must be knowing how the chicks come out when the hens hatch the eggs. So this is a very common thing observed by the children, those who stay in towns, or you will be definitely having an access to observe this thing. If you have not observed, if you have a chance to observe, you please observe, and then you write down your observations. That's very important. So animals such as cats, dogs, cows, lions, goats, horses and elephants, they give birth to the young ones of their own kind. So this is something very important. Why are we saying own kind? So if you are a human being will give birth to only human being. And if it is a cat giving birth to young one, it will be give birth to only cat. The dog gives birth to young one, it gives birth only to God, the dog which resembles the parent, So cat gives birth to kittens and the mother dog gives birth to puppies. A cow gives birth to a calf. The young ones are fed on their milk. Such animals are called mammals. So this is an important term that you need to understand in the process of reproduction. The animals that give birth to young ones are they fall into the category of the mammals. So what are they called? Can you repeat the term? Mammals. Okay, very good. So what are the examples of these mammals? They give birth to young ones and they also feed the young ones with their milk. These are the important features of the mammals. So what are the examples? Let's repeat the examples. Cats, dogs, cows, lions, goats, horses and elephants. They give birth to the young ones and they feed the young ones with their own milk. So this is the main important feature of the mammals in the process of reproduction. So let's also look at the reproduction in birds. So how do birds reproduce? Definitely the moment you say birds, the eggs will come into your mind, because you must have definitely observed the nest of a bird which is having some eggs in it, and after a few days they turn into the small bird, and the mother bird will take care of the young bird for a few days by feeding them, and after a few days these small young birds will fly away when they become strong. When the wings become little stronger, they fly away. So this is the procedure some of you must have observed. Yeah? So how many of you have observed? Just show me the thumbs. I have always observed in my balcony there will be a nest every time. Every season there will be a nest, and in that it makes its own nest using some small twigs and then leaves, and then it will lay eggs, and we don't disturb those. We just keep observing, and after a few days the baby bird or the chick will come out, and then slowly it grows into big bird, and then they fly away. After a few days, one fine day when we go and want to see, and we won't be able to see the small bird because the bird has become strong by its wings and it flew away. So you also must have observed, right? Okay, very good. So now let's read this paragraph of reproduction in birds. Okay, birds such as crow, sparrow, hen, eagle and peahen, they lay the eggs. So the eggs hatch into young ones. Many eggs have hard shells. So they have very, very hard shells, and the shells protect the eggs. So some birds lay eggs in their nests, and the eggs of ostriches are very, very big. So some of you must be having as a collection. I have seen my friend collected when they went to some tour. So she has collected the ostrich egg as a showpiece, and she decorated that, and then she showed me. So the ostrich egg was very, very big. So any chance that you happen to see any museum in Hyderabad, also you can find the different eggs that are being displayed in the science exhibition. So you must visit the science exhibition any time to observe how things are happening and how life cycles are continuing and how animals are reproducing, and there are many facts that you can observe in those exhibitions. So this is the fact about the birds, how they reproduce. So you look at the picture, it's very much visible, and more than looking at the picture, your observation in your real life is very, very important. While learning science, whatever you observe in the world around, whatever you observe in your day-to-day life, that is very important for you, and that itself helps you to learn more things. So you must try to relate. So when ma'am is explaining you that there are the birds lay by eggs, and the young ones are given birth by the mammals, and they feed them on their milk. So all these things can be just observed by observing the young ones in and around, how you find the puppies and the kittens observing and then improving their life. Now the reproduction in frogs is also a very, very important and interesting topic. So how do frogs reproduce? They also lay eggs. They shed eggs in water in safe places. You know the fact that why do they shed the eggs in the water? They want a safe place, because no other animal should eat away the eggs. No other animal should crush away the eggs. So the young ones should come out. So what they do, they always lay the eggs in the water. So eggs of frogs are not protected by shells, but they are protected by a thick jelly, a jelly kind of thing. The eggs that are laid outside, they have hard shells, like the bird eggs, the chick, the hen eggs and the ostrich eggs, they have little harder shell in different variations. But the eggs laid by the frog, they have a jelly kind of layer which protects the egg so that they are safe in the water. The frog's eggs hatch into tadpoles. So what do they hatch into? Tadpoles. So tadpoles grow into frogs. So during the process of respiration, we have understood one great fact about the tadpoles. The tadpoles breathe through their gills. Just like how fish have gills, they breathe through their gills, and they grow into frogs, adult frogs, in which they breathe on the land through the skin and also through the lungs. So this is how the frogs reproduction. They lay the eggs in the water. They find them as their safest places, and in the water these develop into tadpoles. They hatch into tadpoles, and these tadpoles further grow by eating small plants. They grow into adult frogs. So this is how the reproduction in frogs is happening. Now you observe the reproduction in fishes, reproduction in insects are few more topics that we will be learning in our next class. So we have had 30 minutes of class today, in which you have learnt about reproduction in few organisms, and we have learnt about it in a very detailed manner. So I want you all to follow your lesson, read the lesson thoroughly, and then you follow your homework so that you are at par, and then you will be following the lesson as and when it is proceeding ahead. Okay, thank you. Good day for today. Thank you all.